What up, y'all? It's Dr.Du. We out here. I told y'all I was gonna do a video on South Vacherie. Vacherie is where I'm from. So I figured just cut to the chase. Where I'm from, South Vacherie. The South Vacherie, Louisiana is an unincorporated community in Louisiana, United States, for my international folks. The specific geographic coordinates for y'all who into that kind of stuff is 29 degrees latitude north and 90 degrees longitude west. So again, located in Saint Jean Parish. Saint Jean Parish is located in the southeast region of the state of Louisiana, so not too far from New Orleans Parish. A lot of people familiar with New Orleans, of course, not too far from New Orleans. So our neighboring parishes are going to be Lafourche Parish, Saint John Parish, St. Charles Parish, and I believe Ascension Parish are our neighboring parishes. Alaska and Louisiana are the only states in the United States with parishes that still use a parish system. Something to be mindful of. So being specific, so we get into the specifics about Vacherie. So Vacherie as a whole consists of two communities. So you have North Vacherie, also called Front Vacherie, which houses communities known as Magnolia. And then you also have South Vacherie or Back Vacherie, which is the bottom part. So together, both of them collectively make up the area of Vacherie. Now in the middle, there is no formal word for the middle part. We used to call it the feed store just because it was a feed store that sold farming materials, things for gardening, things that you would use on the farm or in country setting. So we call that area the feed store. But again, Vacherie as a whole consists of Front Vacherie and South Vacherie. So you'll hear me talk a little bit more about that in terms of like famous people, people from the area, things to do, the different areas of Vacherie. Okay, so getting back to Saint Jean Parish. So Saint Jean Parish, the Mississippi River cuts through Saint Jean Parish. So we have the East Bank and the West Bank. Interesting thing about Saint Jean Parish is when you look at it on the map, it looked like the North Bank and the South Bank, but that's just because the Mississippi River does a lot of curving. So, but I'm from the West Bank. I'm from the West Bank of Saint Jean Parish. So on the West Bank, we have several communities outside of Vacherie. So you got Back Vacherie, Front Vacherie, Vacherie, or Magnolia, which I mentioned earlier as a part of Front Vacherie. But Magnolia, Vacherie, Back Vacherie, Up the Road, Moonshine, and I think that's all. I think that's it. People from the crib, they're gonna get on me if I forget anything, but I think that's pretty much it. Also, Up the Road, also known as Welcome, an area called Welcome, also known as St. James, just generally St. James. People refer to Up the Road as St. James. Moving right along, we also have the East Bank, but again, I won't get too far into that because I don't identify with that area. I'm not from there, but one of our rival high school is on the East Bank, and that's called Lutcher, Louisiana, Gramercy, a couple other communities over there. But again, I'm not from over there, so I won't go too far into detail about that. Population of Back Vacherie, approximately 2020 census, 3,392 people. As you could tell, not a very big place. I'm from the country. I'm a country boy at heart. I'm out here in the big city of LA right now, but yeah, my country roots definitely live and run deep. So when we get into demographics, so we got about 63% white in Back Vacherie and also 35% black. Small percentage, maybe 1 to 2% of other folks identify as some other kind of race or ethnicity. I went to school with, there's the one girl who was Mexican. I believe her name was Yadida. I went to school with her. Also, we had a guy from Trinidad when I was in like 4th grade. Not quite sure like how the affiliation, like when you're from a small place like this, you don't really expect a lot of people to know about it, or you don't expect to see a lot of people that's different per se, like come from different areas. So yeah, but that's the demographic breakdown for the most part, pretty much white and black. Average household income $72,000, which is interesting to kind of think about because as I continue my career in my life, trying to get this bread, trying to get these bands, 72,000. I don't know. It seems maybe a little high. I don't know. I really don't know how it seems, to be honest with you. Poverty rate 10%. Median home value 140 bands, 140,000. Medium age is about 49 years old. 45 years old for males, 51 years old for females. Area code is 225 for those of y'all who didn't know. Also, you have obviously New Orleans with the 504 area code. Some important landmarks to consider: Oak Alley Plantation, St. Joe Plantation, Whitney Plantation, Laura Plantation, Lake des Allemands, San Jam High School, the high school I went to, which is now in Vacherie. But I'll kind of explain a little bit about school in a later part of the video. Also, we have the tallest tower in the state of Louisiana, which stands at a height of 1,969 feet. It's a Guy Mass tower, so I believe it's a radio tower. So a lot of people don't know that. Shit, I mean, I didn't really know that until like later on. I got a little bit older that we had the tallest tower in the state, so that's pretty cool. Before I kind of get into like some specifics, just about my experience and other things. Notable people from Vacherie overall, like I said, you got back Vacherie and front Vacherie. So some of these people from the front, some of these folks from the back. Not too many. I mean, I'm not gonna like make this exhaustive list of folks, but notably Corey Webster went to LSU, played football, also played cornerback for the New York Giants. He from Magnolia, which is in North Vacherie or front Vacherie. You also have Avis White, who appeared on MasterChef season 1. I didn't know who that was. I really don't know who that is, but that's a notable person. And then, to keep the list short, I'm going to just go ahead, shameless plug myself and my sister, Dr.Du Dumas, Dr. Marcus Dumas. Obviously, like, same last name. That's my older sister. Both of us have doctorates. I'm not exactly sure how many people from Vacherie have doctoral degrees. Huge accomplishment. Pretty dope. I'm working at USC right now, which is, really dope, really cool. So, just a few notable folks. Shameless plug. I had to put myself out there. Put my sister out there. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the experience, the neighborhood, school stuff, academics, and then also things to do, and anything else that come to mind as we continue to go through the video. The experience, what was it like growing up in Vacherie? Growing up in Vacherie or back Vacherie was, a slow life, country life. Growing up, I had a lot of the same friends I went to school with from Head Start up until I graduated high school. My best friend Chris, I mentioned him in the first video. He moved to Atlanta when I was in junior high, which was real rough. But we got through it. But a couple of my friends, like, still friends today. A lot of my friends actually still friends today, which I'm really thankful for. I know sometimes people move from place to place and have new friend groups and things kind of change. But I was thankful enough to have the same friends. I grew up playing outside a lot, so riding bikes, shooting basketball, playing football, playing baseball, playing all of the sports, going to like family events, crawfish ball, cookouts. I talk a little bit more about this here in a little bit, but football is king in the South, so our football team at the high school was really popular, really what we known for. But yeah, overall it was slow, slow life. You grow up around family, you grow up close neighbors, so if I'm down the street doing something I ain't had no business, those parents or those adults would oftentimes talk to your parents and let them know, like, oh, I saw such and such doing this, so you might get a spanking for that or you get disciplined for that. But just a slow life. You learn the basics of humanship, I guess, if that's what we want to call it. You learn how to be polite, you learn how to be respectful. I mean, a lot of these things may also be specific to growing up in the southern United States, like this whole hospitality thing. But you learn manners, you learn how to respect people. You walk in people's house, you say good morning. You walk in people's house, if it's afternoon, good evening. Showing respect for your elders and different things like that. Food is another huge aspect of living in Louisiana as a whole, but South Vacherie, back Vacherie to be specific. So gumbo, crawfish, jambalaya, big macaroni, etouffee, all of the different foods that Louisiana is famous for, like very distinct ways of cooking that out where I'm from. So you could have gumbo in New Orleans and you could have gumbo in Vacherie, and it would be similar, but it would be different. You could taste the difference in the two. So another part of the experience, Huh. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the experience. Like you grow up. You learn your manners. You respect folks. It's taught that adults when I was growing up would teach like get your books. Like education was real huge. Being from a small town, like there's not a lot of opportunity, so there wasn't a lot of like different kind of jobs. A lot of people who live back home, um, you know, from what I could remember, like the men would either go work in a plant, which is totally fine, like totally fine thing to do. Like I know a couple of my friends making really good money. Wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I noticed that that was one of the common areas of trade to go into. And then women would oftentimes maybe try to go to nursing school or do something in the healthcare field. So, but that's pretty much it though. I mean, you could go into like agriculture or something like that and do something like near one of the adjacent parishes or adjacent towns. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all that come to mind. So the neighborhood. So my neighborhood. So you got all right. So Vacherie, the two main corridors coming into Vacherie are LA 3127 and LA 20. LA 3127 is an odd number highway, runs east west. LA 20 even number highway runs north south. Furthest north of LA 20 you're gonna have ends in front Vacherie at the levee. So at the levee of the Mississippi River, that's where you can say it ends or it starts, and it goes south all the way to I think past Thibodeau into Lafourche Parish. So that's one of the main corridors, and then you have LA 3127 that's east-west that will go as far west as I believe Napoleonville or Downsonville, and then as far east as Boutique. But you can get to Baton Rouge on LA 3127 going shit. Baton Rouge going west, New Orleans going east on 3127. So those are important highways to know, LA 20 and LA 3127. So then when you get into back Vacherie, you have Highway 643 and Highway 644, both connected to LA 20. And off of both of those highways, you got like a bunch of streets. So that's really what makes up the neighborhood. I stayed on the 644 side on Maple Street. Coincidentally, a lot of the streets, well, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but a lot of the streets in back Vacherie are named after trees. So you got Maple Street, Oak Street, Palm Street, Mimosa Street, all of these tree and fruit named streets. So that was always interesting. I always wondered like who was responsible for all these tree streets. But the neighborhood is pretty much again like streets offered as main highway. Houses have some space in between them. So like I said, it's real country. Like, it's not super country, but it is country. So everybody got a yard. A lot of people would have trees in their yard, carport, driveway. Home sizes. 2-3 bedroom homes, maybe 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, depending on what like part of the neighborhood you in. A lot of the streets you can have the ability to like go from street to street, like in between, like when you down the street. So like as a kid, we would like hop streets, like play at this person's house, play at that person's house, and we would just go in between. It wasn't like a fence. I mean, shit, we would hop the fence anyway if it was, but just kind of to give you a layout of the streets and how the streets are organized. Back Vacherie, we had a gas station, we had a supermarket, and we had a church. So those are like the three probably like biggest landmarks. We actually had two schools. Growing up, I had two schools. I had the primary school, which was like way far in the back, and then we had the elementary school, which was a little further in the front of the community. So that's the neighborhood. I mean, people in the neighborhood, pretty nice people. Everybody know each other. You know what I'm saying? Everybody try to look after each other. Everybody try to take care of each other. Like I said, if you a kid in the street or you a kid down another street doing something you ain't got no business, your daddy or mama probably gonna find out about that. That old saying, it take a village, right? It take a village to raise somebody. Definitely true where I'm from in Back Vacherie. So that's the neighborhood. The school system. So like I was saying earlier, when I was growing up, we had a Head Start, the primary school, the elementary school, junior high, which was in front Vacherie, the high school, which has always been where everybody on the West Bank typically goes to high school, with a few exceptions. But so I went to school. I went to Head Start. Like I said, a lot of people I went to Head Start with. Some I'm still friends today. And then I went to, so I didn't do pre-K. I went from Head Start, from Vacherie Head Start, South Vacherie Head Start to Vacherie Primary, which is no longer in service to kids now. They closed that school down. It used to be called Shell Mound when my daddy was in school, but I'm not even finna go into that. That's old school right there. But so then I ended up going to Vacherie Elementary. So Vacherie Primary, I went to school from kindergarten to 3rd grade. And then Vacherie Elementary, I went to school from 4th grade to 6th grade. And then when I went to junior high, that was the first year they moved junior high to the high school, St. James High School. Went to high school at St. James, which was real. Everybody always dreams, I feel like, about high school, what it's gonna be like, how fun it's gonna be. And it was a cool experience. I mean, it definitely wasn't a Disney Channel high school experience, but it was what it was. I played football, played all the sports, but ultimately played football. That was the main thing. Ended up going to college to play college football, as I talked about in the first video, University of Central Arkansas. I was good enough to play college ball, so I'm thankful for that. But so San Jam High School, that was where I went to high school. I graduated class of high school at 96 people, you heard me? 96 people in my high school class, not big at all. Some people graduate in high school, 500, 1,000 people. St. Jam High School. So the high school that I went to, the actual physical building, since now has been purchased by a plant. So it's a lot of plants and refineries down in South Louisiana along the banks of the Mississippi River. So I don't know the name of the corporation, but they actually bought the property, and we had a new school built, so the old school used to be in St. James or Welcome up the road, but now the high school is back Vacherie. So very close to that intersection I was telling y'all about, LA 20 and 3127. So the new high school is over there. Real nice high school. It's kind of interesting because I didn't go to school there technically. So like the sentimental value I have to that place is not as much as the old high school, but change comes. Change come here, change come there. Times change. Things get better, and I'm glad for that. So that's school. That was what school was like. Things to do. So things to do in back Vacherie, or in Vacherie in general. Man, look, when you from the country, you do country things. Louisiana is known as a sportsman's paradise. So fishing, hunting. It's a canal at the back of my street, and there's cane fields all over back Vacherie. So as a kid, I would play in the cane fields. I would walk to the canal. We played a lot of sports. If younger folks, sport like football is king, like I said. Also plantations. I mean, not something that we did a lot, just because the plantations wasn't really like special to us in terms of like going, because they was always there. But we went on field trips. Growing up, I would go to field trips to the different plantations. We were going like swamp tours. We don't have no swamp tours in Vacherie specifically, but in the neighboring areas, we do have swamp tours. Usually people who come from out of town, they'll go like tour the plantations. A lot of plantations, so a lot of slavery history. That stuff is important to know. The history of where you're from, history of the United States, that's a huge part of American history. We can never not acknowledge and never not talk about it, because that's what it is. So South Vacherie, back Vacherie, Vacherie in general, famous for the plantations. Whew, man. That's pretty much it, bruh. It ain't really much going on. Like, in order to do stuff, we had to go to New Orleans. We had to go to Baton Rouge. We had to go to Thibodeau, Gonzales, like these neighboring areas, because, when you're from the country, it's just we don't have a lot too much. Like, we had a couple little restaurants that people might stop by as they're passing through. But we more of a pass-through place. You coming to Vacherie, you probably coming to visit Oak Alley Plantation. That's probably what you're coming for. Or you probably know somebody. You might be coming to see the Wildcats play. That's our mascot, San Jan Wildcats. But other than that, not really much to do. I'm proud of where I'm from, and where I'm from is what made me who I am today. But that's that. That's that. Quick things. So going back to the landmarks, one of the other landmarks I wanted to mention is Lake des Allemands. So Lake des Allemands is a smaller like feeder lake to Lake Pontchartrain. For y'all who familiar with the geography of South Louisiana. So Lake des Allemands actually stands for Ligue des Allemands. So yeah, Ligue des Allemands. Ligue des Allemands. Ligue des Allemands is actually French for League of the Germans. And a lot of people don't know this, but Saint Jean Parish, Saint John Parish, and St. Charles Parish are all a part of historically what is called the German coast. So there were actually German settlers in my area. Whenever the area was first inhabited, there were Germans who were in the area alongside Creole and Cajun folks who all inhabited Vacherie, the area of Vacherie. That's kind of like some interesting cultural stuff. Every July, Ligue des Allemands holds the Louisiana Catfish Festival. For y'all who into catfish, you know, maybe that's something that you want to attend one day. Also, Ligue des Allemands has been deemed the catfish capital of the universe. Not the United States, not the world, but the universe. Get you some catfish from Ligue des Allemands. That's South Vacherie, man. That's back Vacherie. I mean, you know, in my mind, it's like, you know, because I'm not from a place that's really huge or that's really big, like in my mind, it's like, damn, you know, like what do I say? What do I tell people about this place that I'm from? But everything that I mentioned in this video today are things that you should know about back Vacherie, South Vacherie. One more quick thing I'll mention is we also have the Gramercy Bridge. Gramercy Bridge is another landmark. Gramercy Bridge is the bridge that connects the East Bank and the West Bank of Saint Jean Parish. That's another attraction. A lot of bridges along the Mississippi River, and you'll notice that they have different kind of styles. So Sunshine Bridge is a very long bridge, which is adjacent to Saint Jean Parish that connects into Ascension Parish. And then you also have the Luling Bridge, which is closer to New Orleans in an area called Luling that connects the east and west banks of St. Charles Parish. So a lot of bridges in South Louisiana, you know, real interesting designs, cool thing. But again, I just wanted y'all to know a little bit more about where I'm from. We always run into this question of, oh, where you from? Oh, out here in LA. Where you from, cuz? Nah, I ain't. Where you from, though? Where you from? Where you from, though? Where you from, though? That's something that people always ask. Where you from? And when people ask that question, what you tell them? What do you tell them? Like, right? Like, what do you tell them? You tell them about the experience. You tell them about the food. You tell them about the geography. What do you tell people about where you from? So that's actually something I want to know where y'all from. You know what I'm saying? Let me know where y'all from. You know, tell me about, you know, what it's like where you from. You know, what it was like growing up over there. Because where we from is a huge part of our identity, right? You know, where we grew up, what we experienced where we grew up. You know, these are the first things that we learn about. Where we grow up teaches us about life. And the important thing to know is that life, there's a lot of life to be lived everywhere. And that's why traveling is so important. So, but back Vacherie is where I'm from. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Until next time, peace. Let's get this boosted back. Get that boosted back.